Hey, FC family. Hope you guys are having a great week. We're going to continue our series on Let's Talk Family. You know, there's a saying that says you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. And I found it interesting, not that this pertains to anything, but that actually comes from To Kill a Mockingbird. And the rest of that quote's kind of interesting as well. I didn't memorize the rest of it, so you're going to have to go look that up yourself. But when it comes to family, family usually has two emotions that come with it. Either you've had a great experience with family, maybe you grew up in a home that your family life was great, or you grew up in a family that wasn't so great. And sometimes we allow that to skew our vision of what God wants family to truly look like. You can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. And you have to deal with family. So that's one of the things that I'm excited about in this series is kind of getting some practical stuff on how to deal with family. Because whether you grew up in a good family or not, you're going to have issues with family one way or another. It's just bound to happen. And as Christians, we also have spiritual family. And when it comes to spiritual family, sometimes we're closer to them than we are to our own family. But know this, you will eventually also have problems with your spiritual family. So we need to learn what God wants family to look like and how to deal with that. So that's an exciting thing that I believe we're going to learn through this series. You know, when it comes to family, families start with marriage. When a husband and wife come together and they get married and they start their family, that's the beginning of a new family. And the foundation of that is that relationship between the husband and wife. For those of you that have been married for any length of time, you also know that marriage is great, but marriage can also be not so great a lot of times. You got two people that are living together under the same house and having to adapt to each other and learn each other's habits and things that you don't like about each other and what you do like, and that can really cause some issues. And again, that's where we got to know what God wants in a family. And for a husband and wife to be able to get along the way that they should, you've got to have Jesus at the center of it. Because when the world is spinning around, sometimes Jesus, God, your relationship, your covenant that you made before God is the only thing that will sustain you through those times. In this day and age, marriage seems to be coming under attack even more and more. So it's good to know what God has to say about husbands and wives. I've been married for a few years myself, and been through some good times, been through some bad times. And one thing that I can definitely say is that if it wasn't for Jesus and God and what they have done in my own life, I don't know how my marriage would have ended up. But with that being said, also when you go to raising kids, you got to have a pretty good idea of what God wants in raising kids, because raising kids is not easy either. It brings its own set of challenges and rewards as well, but you've got to know what God wants as a parent in raising your children, because God has a plan for families, and if we don't follow that plan, we don't get to see and partake of the blessings and the fullness that He has for us in our family. So learning what God wants in your family and how your family is to function is very important. And in fact, each family does function a little different, but there are key principles that we all have to operate by in order to have a successful marriage and have a successful family. And again, it all comes back to centering it around God and what He has done for us in a relationship with Jesus. So as we wrap this up, maybe you guys can discuss in your small groups tonight, maybe some of the positive things that you have experienced in your own family, maybe as growing up, or things that you're doing in your family right now to make your family a better dynamic than what you had. If you're willing to, you can maybe also use this time to discuss maybe some things that weren't right in your family, and maybe some things that weren't right for you when you were growing up. Just use some caution. Don't throw your mom and dad under the bus too bad, because they were probably doing the best that they could at the time with what they had. So I would say that tonight in your small group, just discuss those things. Also discuss some things that maybe you've learned through this series on what you need to do to maybe change your family dynamic so that your family will begin to look more like what God wants that dynamic to be. So hope you guys enjoy the rest of your small group and enjoy the discussion.